PR Connections Radio presents this episode of the PR Connections podcast is brought to you by Classy Communications PR and Advertising. Classy Communications provides public relations and marketing solutions for businesses, professionals, and nonprofit organizations. It can deliver the true meaning of your business with press releases, social media marketing, web development, email marketing, book publishing, and much more. Wherever your potential clients are, they can help you connect with them. Visit classycommunications.net to learn more about their suite of services that can help your business stand out from the rest. Classy Communications is your solution for business success.
Happy New Year's, everyone, and welcome to the New Year's Day Marathon here at prconnectionsradio.com, the voice of new media. The marathon just keeps rolling on and on. The next podcaster that I'm going to bring on the air is another man that I have known for a long time. His name is James Pesutich, and he hosts a podcast called JP's Speaker Lounge. Welcome to the PR Connections Marathon. Actually, this is your first marathon, isn't it, James?
I believe so, yes. Or at least the last time I think was pre-recorded.
Right. Well, fantastic. First time being in person. Or how's your new year going, James?
Great so far. Thank you. How about you?
Wonderful. I've been here most of the time. So this has just been great to all the different podcasts that we've been able to bring on the air today. And you have a unique podcast in that it comes from I guess every podcast that's out there really is about education in one form or another, James. But for you have some very specific topics that you cover in your podcast related to the educational system. Maybe really quickly before I let you go on the air with your podcast, you could talk about some of the themes related to education that you cover.
Well, sure. I always like to cover various themes, various topics, and I try to keep a positive spin on education, because I believe everything comes back to education. As teachers, we try to give everyone a good foundation so that they can move on and become successful in their own fields and everything. But obviously, there's a lot of issues, a lot of problems with education that I like to cover, and my own philosophies of how we can better schools, how we can better education in particular. And that's something I always like to do. Like, there's always going to be challenges. There's always going to be things that keep changing, again, with AI and everything. Instead of avoiding it, you try to tackle it. And there's AI has been an issue, because when you teach writing, all of a sudden the kids go home and they do AI and try to write these great essays. You're like, wait a minute, that's not it's meant as a tool. It's meant as a tool. So I try to cover a lot of issues, a lot of things about like classroom discipline, classroom climate, classroom control, or classroom climate, as well as just the culture of a classroom, and the importance of an education, the importance of a long time in these colleges and universities. It's for the most part, it's not education. It's more of an indoctrination, and that's something that's very troubling. And it's important to be able to be open to different ideas and just open up the dialogue. And teachers make mistakes. We make mistakes, but we learn from them, and I try to be a good role model. And that's really what it's about. It's to help education and help tackle these ideas and issues, and just make school a better place.
Yes, education being such an important part of all societies, James, developing people. We start going to school at a very young age, and we spend a lot of years in the educational environment. It's just great to see someone bring this to our network to help people get a better understanding of the journey of a teacher. And so I'm going to clear the stage and give you an opportunity to present JP's Teachers Lounge. See you soon, James.
Thank you. All right, well, thank you very much for joining JP's Teachers Lounge Season 1, Episode 9. And Happy New Year, everyone. 2026, the year of the sesquicentennial celebration. I think I said that correctly. Sesquicentennial celebration of our great nation. I expected to have a guest today, but he could not make it at the last minute. So what I decided to do was do a little review and possibly a little preview of things to come for JP's Teachers Lounge. The past year, I started the podcast back in June. I talked a little bit about the issues we have in education and some things to help make schools a better place, and then in turn make society a better place. And one of the things I talked about that really motivated me to start a podcast like this is to bring awareness to certain things and open up a dialogue where we can come together and talk about different issues and different challenges of education. One of them was I remember one of my old colleagues saying, who was actually, he was supposed to be the expected guest today, couldn't make it. He talked about this this was probably about 20 years ago. We worked together. He said, teachers don't quit because of the money. They quit because of the working conditions. And if you think about it, why do people quit jobs? Why do people, well, not all the time, but sometimes people relocate, they retire, they for whatever health reasons or just personal reasons. That's not the most part. But one of the basic reasons is the people quit because of the working conditions. Now, when I was in the school district, I made decent money, but I was not happy. And I was not happy because of the working conditions, and the working conditions were not addressed, and they were never resolved. And we're always going to have issues. We're always going to have challenges. But one of the things, a perfect example, I was at a middle school back in 2016, and I was there for 2 years, but I was this was my first year there at this middle school. And it was the last period of the day before Christmas vacation or winter break, whatever you want to call it, the 2 weeks off of Christmas. The last period of the last day, I get called into the principal's office, basically saying, we don't like, I don't like how you're doing. I don't like how you're teaching. I don't like how your classes are going. And first of all, there's a certain time and place for things. That was not the time nor the place. And I had to sit there, or I had to stew in that for the past couple of weeks during holiday break. And that was my first year there. I decided to just gruel it out and go there another year, and then try to. By my second year, I had it, and I quit. I resigned. But then I realized I still want to teach. I still like teaching. Teaching is a big part of my life. I like working with students and expressing ideas, and just being involved in the thought process and have them create and discover new ideas and new philosophies, whether it's through a poem or story or speech or article, whatever. that's something I always enjoyed doing, and I just was not happy with the culture, with the climate, and of that particular school. And I thought, life's too short. I want to be happy. So I resigned, and then eventually I found a good school where I was in. But the bottom line, or where I was comfortable, and the bottom line is, you're always going to have issues. You're always going to have challenges, and this was avoided. This was neglected, and whether the administration was just overwhelmed by things, it didn't work. And one of the reasons, first of all, I am an advocate for education. I really am. And but when I mean, and when I talk about being a lifelong learner, does that necessarily mean that I always promote a 4-year college? Well, if yes, I do, but at the same time, if some people don't want to do it, that's certainly their right. But what's more important is to be a lifelong learner, and to keep learning, and to keep having an open mind about new ideas and everything, and to keep just keep learning, keep discovering. It has turned into a money factory for the most part, where the universities just collect money. And I mean, I'm making a generalization, yes, but and then there are always exceptions, but for the most part, that's and that's just wrong, and that needs to change. There needs to be accountability. I understand that an education is education's a right for people, and I understand that. I think at this point, when we talk about an education being a right, that doesn't necessarily mean that we should stick with the archaic model of a public school, meaning having one entity monopolizing the money and resources. I question it. I'm not saying I'm against it. I question it, and I want others to question it as well. In my school, I'm at a Christian school, and we pray every day, but again, the students are not required to. We give the Pledge of Allegiance again, but the students are not forced to do that, and many of them don't. And I respect their right, and I'm glad that they can think for themselves, but are they really thinking for themselves? Or are they just being manipulated by the anti-American establishment about our nation? Again, we have problems, we have issues in the past, horrible injustices of the past. And again, being this year, being the sesquicentennial 250th celebration, we should still be proud to be American, but obviously being aware of the things that we need to improve, our improvements, and our faults that need to be improved. So when I look at students not saying the Pledge of Allegiance, part of me can't help but think, well, are they being indoctrinated into this anti-American sentiment? Maybe, maybe not. So again, I question things. I always question things, and we don't. People have said, "Oh, well, people don't like people question things." Why not? What do you have to hide? That's my thing. Do I know everything? Of course not. But when something doesn't seem right to me, I question things. There's nothing wrong with that, and people get attacked for questioning things. Nope, that shouldn't be. You should be available. You should be willing and feel free to open your mouth and express what you want to express. So there's a lot of issues in education, a lot of challenges, and and again, I think one of the things that has really changed is parents used to always believe in the teachers. Now parents tend to always believe in the students. Well, how about taking one issue at a time? Sometimes the teacher is in the wrong. Sometimes the student is in the wrong. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes it just needs to be a matter of just adjusting something and allowing people to express themselves and think and come together and think and resolve the issues. So I'm very I feel very strongly about that. The other things I've talked about was classroom behavior. Now, to me, it's more about not so much what the kids do, but it's their approach. And you see a lot of this online where people judge other people. Oh, this person's a horrible person. Oh, this person's did this or did that. Well, first of all, speaking as a teacher, and I made this mistake my first couple of years. I would say bad things about the student, or I would fish or vocally attack the student, or at least in a confrontational way, talk about their behavior. And then I realized, first of all, I should not be judging them. I should be judging their behavior, their decisions. You can judge someone's decisions, judge their behavior, judge their actions, but it's another thing to judge them as a person. And when I started separating that, that's when I think I became a more responsible, effective teacher, and not taking things personally. For example, how dare them feel bored when I'm giving my great lecture? Well, it may not be so great. And even if I improve and get better, there's still some people who are just not they're bored. They don't want to, it doesn't reach them. So do I attack them and feel insecure, or do I improve on myself? Well, I need to improve on myself. And even if I improve on myself and give a great lecture, a great instruction, there's still going to be some students who are just not. It's not gonna reach them. And so, okay, so you just take it from there. Take one day at a time, and then next day try to improve, and just let the chips fall where they may, so to speak. But it's separating the behavior from the person. The person, I'm judging their behavior or their actions, their decisions, not them, because then how can I judge the person and then expect them to improve or change when I'm already judging them as a person? It's ineffective. It's just not right. So it's the approach. As an example, I'll give kind of I don't know if it's the great analogy, but oftentimes as a teacher, I try to be funny. I like to be fun. I like to joke around and be funny. I'm not always funny. Probably 99% of the time I'm not funny, maybe 1%. But it's the approach. If Kevin Hart or some comedian came in my classroom and said the same thing, you would get laughter. Why? Because he has the approach, he has the delivery, he has the whole energy, the whole gestures and the voice of it, and not to mention his talent. So there's always that. And as teachers, sometimes we get a little offended. Oh, this person, they're not paying attention. Well, they're not paying attention. Instead, they're not paying attention because they're just not getting it. It's not grabbing them. Okay, that doesn't mean I'm a failure. It means perhaps in that moment I have failed I have failed to deliver, or I failed to give an effective instruction. And you could take that, oh, you could take that personally. No, it's not that. Even though sometimes you can't help but take it personally, but instead just think about, okay, how could I improve? What did I do wrong? Or how could I improve and reach students more? Maybe you can't. And that's the thing. You're not going to please everybody. But when I started taking that approach, I noticed that my teaching was better. When you can handle 90%, when you could reduce the classroom behavior, that's like 80-90% of the workload. And that is when things really really improve. When you take that approach, that, you know what, I'm not perfect. I'm just, even if I think, oh, this was so good, but look at from their perspective, from their point of view. And that's why it's really important when something happens to take a moment and think, okay, look at their point of view. You come in as a teacher and you're listening, they're listening to you, and you just, they've heard it before, or they just don't understand, or they just don't care. It's not connecting them. Then what do you expect? What do you expect is going to happen? So they act out. And if you act out, what they're doing is they're communicating. They're not, most of the time, I don't think they're purposely trying to be mean or being offensive, but they're communicating. And that's something where, again, we have to talk and listen. We don't listen to we're talking at each other many times. This is what I want all of you to, if you can, next time you have a conversation with a friend or anybody, count how many times they interrupt you. Well, maybe you might have some friends who don't interrupt you at all. That's great. Unfortunately, I have some friends, as soon as I'm talking to them, I'm not even done talking, they're talking already. Again, it's not really your fault, but it's something that just never was addressed. Because if you already start talking while the other person is talking, you're not listening. You are already ready to just respond instead of just listening. That's why I love Toastmasters. And yes, this is a kind of a cheap ploy to plug Toastmasters, but I've noticed that in Toastmasters, when you're you're in a meeting, nobody will interrupt you, at least for the most part. That's a good feeling. If you feel comfortable, you feel like, I've said something, and people are going to listen. They may not agree, but at least they're listening. At least they're giving me a voice. So those are some of the things that I've covered. And again, it's about learning, keep having a good dialogue, and you get a good idea from somebody. You get a good idea from somebody, or another teacher or someone else, and then it's a great idea. Let's run with it, and let's see if it works. And if it doesn't, okay, well then let's tweak it a little bit. The same thing in business, when you're at work, in the work field. So those are some things that I've covered. Now, to preview for this coming year, I want to continue talking about these issues, and I want to continue talking about the whole thing about the Department of Education, and whether that's, if that is dismantled, what's that going to mean? What's that going to look like? What are some things that we can again improve in schools? And those are some things that I have right now. and I'm going to probably revisit some things in the past. But I want to wish everyone a happy New Year, a happy 2026, and thank you for tuning in to JP's Teachers Lounge, Season 1, Episode 9. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, very well done, James. And you know what I really enjoyed about your talk was your alternative educational perspectives, where you talked about, our educational system's been around for a long time. And so it's kind of entrenched in the culture. But the things that you touched on about sometimes you have to make adjustments to things, right? Something that works at one time in life doesn't necessarily work as well because humans, culture, society is always evolving. So I loved hearing your perspectives on. There are great things I think that should be maintained in our traditional education system, but the fact that you could incorporate other things that might fit more in with the times that we're in, I really enjoyed hearing you touch on that.
Thank you. Yeah, it's important. It's important to keep an open mind, and it's important to, again, like I can't ignore AI. I can't ignore a lot of things that are happening in our society. So instead, confront it and work with it.
Yeah, absolutely. So let everyone know, when can they tune in, excuse me, to JP's Teachers Lounge?
The broadcast is the second and fourth Sunday afternoons at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. All
right. So tune in and listen to James. And of course, as always, again, we got this QR code up here, and we have it here so that you will have easy access to our website, prconnectionsradio.com. If you'd like to listen to past podcasts that James has done, please go over to the website and you can binge watch JP's Teachers Lounge. And again, great information, James, and I wish you nothing but continued success. It seems like within your genre, the topics are limitless when it comes to education. So I'm looking forward to listening to you and watching you explore all these different elements of education in the future.
Thank you, sir. And I wish you well as well. And for happy 2026. Thank you.
Yeah, happy 2026. Keep educating them, James. It's so important.
Thank you.
PR Connections Radio thanks you for watching this podcast. Check out more episodes of this show and our others at prconnectionsradio.com.